Well, it's funny, when they keep saying it's true, his one lands, whereas the comedian, this idea that Trump is a fascist, normally fascists are proud of it. They say, we're fascist, we're National Socialists, we're Nazis, but Trump denies it. So some fascists there. Look, until then, though, Harris has had a strong day, hadn't she? What did you make of her big speech?
Well, look, the weird thing about the speech was that it was pitched as this great sort of unifying speech, and yet the entire speech was just simply obsessed with Donald Trump. And what would Donald Trump do if he comes to office? Trump has an enemies list. Trump would do this. Trump would do that. Trump would politicize this and that. But, we still hear very little about actually what the Harris campaign will do. We hear very little about what she would do to actually unify Americans. And this is a great problem. It's the same thing we always see. We see it in politics in Australia. The left, the right thinks the left is wrong. The left thinks the right is evil. And that's the great danger, I think, is that if Kamala Harris does get over the line next week, and there is every possibility she does, then we will have a far more divided nation than I think you would under Donald Trump.
Look, I totally agree with you, the mixed message. The first 6 minutes of her speech were entirely about Trump being the new dictator, and the rest was half and half, half about her and half about wicked Trump. But the thing is, I think it was based on nonsense. I think it was contradictory. I thought it was mixed messages, but I did think it sounded powerful and she seemed assured in giving it. Now, we have been assuming that Trump is in the lead, but today, after that speech to a very big crowd, I did wonder whether this race is much closer. What's your gut feeling?
Look, my gut feeling is that this is a very close race. I do not think it's necessarily going to definitively fall Donald Trump's way. I know that the polls suggest that. I know that if you look at the early voting trends, that suggests it. But the other thing, though, I would say, Andrew, is that right now, I think almost all votes are pretty much baked in. So even if Donald Trump has this spectacular sort of, or Kamala Harris has this spectacular sort of speech and rally, now, it's not necessarily going to move the needle that much. Really, at this stage, it's about the ground game and it's about getting out the vote. And that's where I think we're going to wind up seeing the result of this. It's not about, her giving a really powerful speech at the end, because everybody knows who she is. Everybody knows who Donald Trump is by now. They've priced these things into their voting equation. I don't sense there are very many undecided voters out there.
And just finally, James, just quickly, what is Kamala Harris thinking about her boss now, her old boss?
Well, I can't imagine all the thoughts are that pleasant because, Andrew, let's not forget, this is not the first time that we've seen in this campaign Joe Biden do something, say something that winds up throwing Kamala under the figurative bus. You remember a few weeks ago during the disaster relief in North Carolina, and Joe Biden got up and for the first time in his presidency entered the media briefing room at the White House and got up and said, "Oh, Kamala Harris, she's been with me every step of the way of my administration, helping me with the legislation, the policies, the plans, and all of that." And, everybody looked at it and said, whoa, this is just totally destroys her ability to, run away from that record. So this is not the first time this has happened, because I think that the theory is that Joe Biden wants to be able to say on some level there that he was the only president to defeat Donald Trump at an election. He wants that to be his legacy, having been shunted aside by the Democrat establishment.
A Freudian slip then, this mistake, a Freudian slip you're suggesting. James Morrow, looking forward to your reports from over there. Have fun. Thank you so much for your time.